Hi everyone, this is my presentation of learning for my Polaris teaching in 2017. Demonstration of mastery and content and planning and delivering effective instruction. My greatest weakness in both these categories was not knowing how to plan and deliver effective instruction that was age appropriate to second and third graders. This was mainly because I was so used to working in secondary and college level art classes where the assignments were more complex and I could get away with using a little more academic language. The main challenge was that I didn't realize that younger children were not naturally self-sufficient, and they only learned how to do so if the teachers had a lot of structure and instructions when it came to making art and cleaning it up. This often made me feel very overwhelmed being in the classroom. However, the more I methodically planned for structure in my lesson plans, the easier teaching went. I also learned a lot about breaking up demonstrations with work time. Second and third grade students needed to make art before they had a demonstration of it, which was the opposite formula for learning in my high school and college art experiences. By letting them work before a demonstration, I got a clearer sense of what students already knew about thumbnail sketches, drawing portraits, creating sculptures out of pipe cleaners, and other things. I can't really say that my ability to deliver effective instruction for younger students has improved significantly since my first day at Polaris, but I have a lot more things I'm aware of working on consciously for student teaching at the elementary level. My ability to write clear and strong lesson plans have definitely increased, especially when it comes to writing objectives and essential understandings. My most successful experience delivering instruction was during our pipe cleaner project, since we only had one day to make sure protocols and expectations were clear enough for students to accomplish the work. Safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment. Physical safety was something that we definitely kept in mind when we were planning our stamp lessons, since students would be learning how to cut rubber with printmaking tools that could easily slice their hands if they weren't careful. Since Emily was the expert printmaker in our group, she did a really good job going over every detail of the carving process to make sure that students did not accidentally hurt themselves or other people. We also gave students cotton winter gloves to work with as extra protection. Luckily, none of our students got hurt, and none of them were really scared working with the tools. This was a successful lesson because students experimented with a new form of art that posed some dangerous risks, and they were excited about the work they made. Emotional safety and inclusion was also something important for Emily and me to keep in mind. During our second lesson, we told students that they had to draw one of their classmates from observation for their final quilted portrait rather than a self-portrait because we didn't have mirrors. The students were very resistant to this prompt, possibly because they felt pressure to make an acceptable portrait of their partner that could have to do with social acceptance. In addition to overhearing some passive-aggressive remarks about how ugly some students' drawings were, Emily and I had to address a small altercation after one student scribbled on his partner's drawing because he didn't like the way he looked. This was when we started talking about giving kind, supportive, and relevant feedback, which was a transferable skill students could take out of the classroom. Students were a lot more nice and thoughtful about their feedback afterwards, which affected the expressive quality of their portraits. Everyone learned something new that day. Demonstration of leadership. Because I was in a co-teaching setting, I felt that the way I grew and demonstrated my strengths as a leader was by working collaboratively with my co-teachers, Emily and Ben. Emily and I were partnered up to co-teach Brittany's class together, so I felt that my growth as a leader came from how I collaborated with her. One strength we had as a team was coming up with group norms for the way we would work together. Some examples were no shame, no blame, having transparent communication, and knowing the activity well enough to teach it on our own. This made sure we were on the same page, which I believed helped to create a supportive camaraderie between the two of us. This also enabled us to create a supportive, to work together a lot more fluidly in the classroom when it came to leadership. I let her take the lead when it came to lessons that she had stronger expertise in, such as our stamp lesson, and she did the same with me on the quilted partner portrait lesson. One of the weaknesses I had as an educator in an elementary setting was not really knowing how to take initiative for behavioral challenges in the classroom, or understanding how to give a concise demonstration of materials and techniques without losing the student's attention. Emily was way more of an expert, and she gave me a lot more helpful tips along the way. This gave me trust that Emily could support me when classroom management was challenging, and that we were there for each other as sounding boards when we were frustrated. Our working relationship made me feel safe to make mistakes and learn through trial and error in the classroom. Though Ben and I didn't work in the classroom together, he also provided a lot of really great insights when it came to the lesson plans. He taught me a lot about differentiation, since he seemed to do that with a lot of his students for our lesson. His teaching experiences also made me realize that being a good leader in the classroom is about thinking on your feet, even when you have a lot of really good structure. Ben had a work ethic that really made me think about stepping up to the plate when writing my lesson plans. His witty sense of humor also lightened the mood when the semester got busy. Reflection and practice. During my second self-assessment with Patrick this semester, I mentioned that my greatest strength as an educator was my ability to reflect on my learning. My favorite part of teaching at Polaris was being able to talk on the class blog about what went well, what didn't go well, and what I would do differently. I told Patrick during that review that being able to reflect on my actions was the only way that I could ever get better as a teacher, since I had very minimal teaching experience in an elementary classroom. Reflecting on my teaching practice also encouraged me to take responsibility for my actions and mistakes, investigating what I would do differently the next time around. I wouldn't say that there were any weaknesses in my ability to reflect on my work. However, this is definitely the part of my teaching practice that I value the most, and I really want to make it a habit to keep a daily journal following Patrick's blog criteria during my student teaching and first-year teaching experiences. Another leadership training I did also encouraged me to look at presence, communication and relationships, cultural responsiveness, reflective thinking, and embodied action as part of my journaling. I'm thankful for the opportunity to work at Polaris and develop my teaching practice. I look forward to applying what I've learned during student teaching, especially when I'm teaching at an elementary school.